Hi guys, my name is Chris Shaw and welcome to Chris Shaw Bass Lessons. In today's lesson, we're going to be looking at 10 techniques to make you a better bass player. If you find this video helpful, please check out the other videos on my channel and like and subscribe. Without further ado, let's crack on with the video. The first technique we're going to be looking at is a right hand technique called floating thumb. This is one of the main techniques that you use when you're playing bass in the fingerstyle. The basic premise of this technique is you have your thumb floating above the string that you're playing when you're playing fingerstyle. For example, as I play up and down the string, my thumb moves with my fingers as I play. I'll now play you an example with a close-up on the floating thumb technique. Notice how, as I play, my thumb floats over the string I'm playing and moves up and down with my fingers. This gives me more control and will make it easier to develop speed when I want to. The next technique we're going to be looking at is called glissando. This technique is used to decorate the riffs or melodies that you're playing. Glissando, or more commonly known as slides, are when you play one note and then without taking your finger off the fretboard, you move your finger up to the next note you want to play. So for example, a slide on the E string from 3rd fret to 7th fret. There can be all kinds of different speeds. You can play it fast, or you can play it slow. Here's an example of me playing something with slides. When playing a slide, I find it's always good to have your eyes fixed on the fret where you want to finish your slide. This helps you control it more and have it more accurate. Adding slides to any riff or melody will make it sound cooler and more interesting. For our next technique, you're going to need one of these. This is a pick, and our next technique is down picking. Down picking is a technique commonly used in pop, rock and punk. It sounds great and it adds a really cool percussive element to your playing. The way it works is fairly simple. The clue's kind of in the name. You get your pick and you only play downward strums. Like so. Here is an example of me playing something with down picking. Down picking can get really cool when you combine it with our next technique, which is palm muting. Palm muting is another technique that has the clue in the name. It's a technique where you use the palm of your right hand over the strings to kind of deaden the note as you play. You don't want to stop the note entirely, but you want it so it can still ring out but doesn't resonate too much. Here's an example of me playing something with palm muting and down picking combined. Notice how I use palm muting and not palm muting to vary the dynamics of what I play. You can use this trick in something like a pre-chorus to build up to a big chorus and gradually get louder and let that string resonate more just at the end. The next technique we're going to look at is called rhythmic picking. Rhythmic picking also uses a pick. However, instead of everything as down picks, you play the down beats as down picks and then the off beats as up strokes or up picks. For example, you would play 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now here's a close-up of me playing a groove with rhythmic picking. Notice how with rhythmic picking you still get that percussive feel that you get from down picking, however you also get kind of a more syncopated groove as well. Rhythmic picking is a great technique for writing riffs and ostinatos. I'd really recommend it for anyone who's learning bass. The next technique we're going to look at is chords. Playing chords in your bass line can really help add a lot of harmony to it. A chord is where you play more than one note at the same time, usually from the same triad or arpeggio, for example, like this. Here's an example of where I play chords in a bass line. You can also play bass lines using chords using more than just two notes. Here's an example of that. When playing chords on the bass, it's always a good idea to play them quite high up on the neck. When you play low notes as chords, it tends to get quite muddy and can really ruin a good bass line. The next technique we're going to look at is one of my favourites. It's called the Gallop, and it was popularised by the Iron Maiden bassist Steve Harris. The Gallop is often played with triplets, however it doesn't have to. One of the key elements of this technique is on the right hand. When you play normal finger style, you have your hand quite square onto the strings. However, when you adopt this Steve Harris style Gallop, you have them so that when your fingers are up against the string, they're kind of flat, and you play with quite a hard attack, so you can get the sound of the string hitting the fretboard, like so. Here is an example of me playing a Gallop. The next technique we're going to be looking at is the 808. Let's jump right in with an example. Now the next technique we're going to be looking at is slap bass. There are three main elements of slap bass: the thump, the pluck, and the left hand slap. Using these three main elements, you can combine them to make some really funky riffs. To play a thump, you use your thumb and you basically whip it at the string. To play a pluck, you use your index finger and you pop the string back. And to play a left hand slap, you use your left hand and you use it to dud all the strings. Here's an example of me playing a riff using all three of these elements. Now to make that sound even more fun and funky, we can use our final technique, Hammerons and Pulloffs. A hammer-on is where you play one note with your left hand and then another note with your left hand. However, with your right hand you don't pluck the second note, like so. Notice how I only pluck once with my right hand. A pull-off is kind of like the opposite. Hammer-ons go up and pull-offs go down. So you only pluck once with your right hand, but you play 2 notes with your left. Sometimes with a pull-off, it's helpful to pull back a little bit on the string to help the note come through, like so. So now let's combine the hammer-ons and pull-offs to the slap bass technique we looked at last time. And there you have it, guys, 10 techniques that you can use when you're playing bass. Please make sure you like, comment and subscribe. I'll see you next time.